Good morning, my creative friends. So delighted to be back here with all of you after a whole week away where I hosted an amazing retreat with my dear friend and co-facilitator Leslie Typrin. And our retreat was called the Time Travelers Retreat. You can still see there's a few flowers. We went and picked beautiful peonies at a local farm. It was a really beautiful experience, one of my favorite retreats that I have facilitated so far. And we've been talking a lot on the channel about intuitive collage, and so I wanted to share this image with you. This was a co-creation between Leslie and I as we were preparing for the retreat. This lived on the altar for the weekend, and I ended up just loving it so much. So in our Time Travelers retreat, we traveled back to the past. We paused in the present to kind of see where we are, and then we sort of looked ahead to the future, 10 years back, 10 years forward. And while we didn't set out to create a magical healing event, it's what happens when we engage in intuitive collage. There's so much healing happened for everyone that participated this weekend, including me as the facilitator, as I was doing some of my own work, a lot of which is not finished and still waiting to be put together, which I'm excited about. I love working on these very, very large rounds. This is just a cardboard cake or pizza round. I buy them by the box full at Michael's or on Amazon. And there's something about working really large that's very nourishing and inviting, and creates these beautiful spaces for that deeper reflection and healing those different part of ourselves. And I loved this one. Was so much about I think sanctuary and rest and healing, right? And it's interesting that the card I pulled from my new deck of 52 prompts for working with intuitive collage was all about inner sanctuary today. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. But I wanted to share another way of creating is on these large rounds. This is something that Leslie and I learned in our work with Kat Carasello. I love working in the round, and this is the type of collage work also that we're doing in our Soul Journeys class, which is now open and ready to go on my website at MinetteRiordan.com. But today I want to go a little bit smaller, different direction. So over the last couple of weeks, I've been talking a lot about intuitive collage. I'm getting ready to be on the road again. It's a busy season of travel, so I may not be as present with all of you this month as I would like to be. But I will be here today, I will be here tomorrow, and then we're driving to Oregon to celebrate my daughter's graduation from university. Super, super exciting, and back again with a fun stop to visit one of my dear friends, the artist Andrea Chebelou, in her new clubhouse retreat in Oregon. Also, can't wait. And then I'm home, and then I turn around and go back to Andrea's for a girls' weekend. So lots of fun stuff coming. And I want to make sure that I'm consistent with my creative practice through the summer, that I have something that's really portable and I can take on the road with me. And tomorrow I'll show what I'm taking on the road. It's kind of fun to see sometimes how little we need to take to keep that creative practice going and consistent across the summer. Good morning, Polly. Welcome. So last week, I created this small altered book journal. This was an old planner that I had, and I have turned it into a yummy little collage book full of mixed media paper. Doesn't have super fantastic paper in here, but it has. I'm like, Kat and I are like, what's going on? So some big helicopters driving over the house. But I've created three sections for June, July, and August because I'm committed to continuing my healing journey with intuitive collage through the summer. And I'm excited. This is going to be the first collage that I create in the book, so that feels pretty fun. Let me go over here and change my camera so everything's still set up from the retreat, and I was scrambling around hoping that I have everything that I need this morning, and I guess we're gonna find out. I had so much fun. I created this deck of journaling prompts for working with intuitive collage. They can also inspire creating a collage. I'm in love with these. We even used them this weekend during our Time Travelers retreat. The other magical thing that came out of the retreat this past weekend was the theme for our next retreat, which is the first weekend in October. It's going to be the Enchanted Forest theme, and I'm so excited to share more about that over the next few weeks. But the card that just randomly showed up for me today was Inner Sanctuary. Envision a safe and nurturing inner sanctuary inspired by your collage. What does this sanctuary look and feel like? So when I was thinking about this, I was thinking about torn paper landscapes, which I love to create. And this image is one I had pulled out through the weekend and hadn't used, and feels like it needs to go on a card. And it feels kind of this enchanting, delightful energy. All kinds of new things were birthed this weekend during the retreat. More details to come, but I have a new membership program that's in the idea stages that I'm super excited about, and she's kind of like the beacon of that. And so she may not get glued in the book because I feel like she's a traveler also, and she maybe needs to travel a little bit, but she feels like an important image for taking me on this journey of what's coming next. So one of the things that I've been working on in my own personal growth journey is really looking at retiring my inner scholar. I'm such an academic. Many of you know by now that I have a doctorate from Stanford University in Spanish in 19th and 20th century Latin American literature, especially poetry, and then became an entrepreneur instead of a professor. But that academic has never left me, right? She's always been a part of me, but lately I'm really trying to bring that inner artist self forward and retire that scholar self. So that it was a lot of healing that happened over the weekend for me around making sure I was leading with my artist self, not with my academic scholar self. And I did it, and I'm really happy with how that happened. So it felt important to start my journal with this idea of maybe a sanctuary for my artist. And what I loved about this particular image is it feels like she's stepping out from the safety of wisdom here, right? We have this wise owl who also often can't talk this morning, often symbolizes wisdom, right? And learning and knowledge. And so she's opening up here to her own magic and stepping out of the shelter. And it felt like such a perfect image for healing this aspect of myself. And so what I want to, have you think about as you're watching and listening this morning is this idea of what aspects of yourself, good morning, Yvonne, what aspects of yourself have you been perhaps hiding or neglecting or avoiding or perhaps not wanting to look at? Are there relationships in your life that could use a little love and tenderness right now? So I'm going to do a lot of ripping and tearing this morning. I loved this little turtle here. And I'm going to create only on the right side of the page. And I'm going to leave the left side of the page for journaling with this collage a little bit later on. And I'll probably do that throughout the book. I'll have one page for journaling and one page for creating on. And then I say that, and of course, some collages will want to spill over into 2 pages. This one kind of feels a little bit spilly, but we'll see. But there's something about ripping paper that just makes me happy. Oh, those plants are kind of fun. Maybe they're going to go in there too. So sometimes I think, we get caught up in making things too precise and too perfect. And when we let go, we actually discover more about ourselves and more about our own creative process. So over the weekend, we actually came up with a whole list of the Wise Woman's Guide to Creative Practice. And it was so much about, we did not use the word stuff. We used a different word, but, about ripping stuff up and letting stuff go and gluing stuff down, like really just kind of letting all of the magic happen. This was someone's beautiful quilt, but I'm not wanting any of that black on there. So let's see what other stuff that we can create here. I love the way the deckled edges look, the torn paper edges look on a torn landscape. So I'm thinking about some sort of emerging or emotional landscape here. And I'm already feeling like this piece of paper isn't big enough. And I'm wondering if this is her landscape. Maybe not the pinks and purples. So let me go ahead and cut her away from her background. So we've talked about this before. This is something I discovered first from SoulCollage. And I've been a certified SoulCollage facilitator for over a decade. I became certified way back in 2012. And I don't teach SoulCollage anymore. For me, it wasn't the right approach, and yet I have so much gratitude for the practice, and I actually love taking classes from other SoulCollage facilitators. And then I discovered JourneyCircles, and I love working with JourneyCircles. Oh my gosh, that's so funny, Lisa. We are such soul sisters, my dear. All right, here is my inner artist stepping away from that scholar. I think she's going to get put on some, maybe a journey circle or maybe just a piece of cardstock to make her a little more solid. I have some nice watercolor paper here. So I'm feeling like almost like she's a paper doll that needs to be able to travel through multiple landscapes. So maybe she's going to get a pretty watercolor background that she's going to travel on. But here we have her so I can play with her in the landscape. These butterflies felt really important when we lived in Goleta, California. We had a monarch sanctuary like 3 minutes from our house, and it was so fun to go in the winter and see all of the beauties. So notice more ripping, more tearing. This is an imperfect landscape, and that sort of ripping and tearing, you can't be perfect when you're ripping and tearing. So I think it's a powerful way to let go of perfectionism, is to give yourself just that permission to play and to really rip shit up and then glue it down and move it around. So this looks like a forest on fire. I think this is from a Nature Conservancy magazine, but I love her in this landscape. So we want to get some of these oranges. And again, what I'm looking for here is this idea of creating a sanctuary, right? A space on the page that feels like sanctuary. And these, they're not going to fit the way I want them to on this page. Really love that shiny sun there. Again, these torn paper landscapes are a great way to just create environments to show movement and visual interest on a page in a way that is fast, that's simple. Maybe we just need a couple of these little butterflies, or maybe the butterflies are part of her journey. That feels better. So working on these things kind of all coming together at the same time. Okay, that again is all about that transformation, that opening, working intuitively. That's why it's called intuitive collage. I have no idea where any of this is going. I just know that I have a direction and that I want to create something that feels like sanctuary. Got to get my beloved mountains in here. After the retreat on Sunday, my sweet husband drove Leslie and I up to Estes Park, Colorado, which is the gateway of Rocky Mountain National Park. It's also the place where we're going to be hosting our next retreat, so it was good for her to be able to get up there and see that and experience the energy and the magic. And woof, tourist season was in full swing. It was so crowded already. I'm just loving this little turtle, right? That reminder to slow down. That was a big theme that came up for me in the retreat this weekend, was remembering to slow down. Good morning, Judy. I got your email last night, and yes, we have a new Secret Garden class coming up. Not this coming weekend, but the following weekend, and I will send you a link to more information, but you can also find it on my website in my shop. Thank you for that email. It was fun to get it. I'm feeling like I need some water. I love this. Like, oh my gosh. Look at her here. I love rocks. I love this whole image together. So this landscape is gonna maybe get a whole page in the book. And now I'm thinking, how fun would it be if the book was a variety of different landscapes, and then I had a variety of different characters that are traveling through these different types of sanctuaries. I would get bored with that really fast, but it sounds like a great idea. It's kind of coming together. These are just not working for me. Notice I'm just letting it hang over the edges of the paper. I'm not trying to be neat about it. I loved this map. Maybe we need to get some travel in here. It feels so good to rip paper. If you haven't shredded paper in a while, I always tell my clients when they're, Diego, no claws, dude, sorry. When they're feeling completely out of sorts or distraught, there's something so healing about, I love this little house on the island. So healing about releasing anger through ripping paper, right? A lot of us were taught as girls that it was not okay to get angry. And so we have learned to bottle that up pretty successfully. And one of the ways to start to lean into that again is this to really rip paper. It's quiet, it doesn't hurt anyone, it's not directed at anyone, but it's a great way to release some of that energy. Okay, I'm loving the movement of this. I'm loving these little bits of orange kind of anchoring things in down here. And I talked at the beginning about retiring my scholar. And I liked her because she felt like the scholar, right? She felt like this kind of sort of inner going within. She's reading her book. She's inside, not outside, sort of thinking through things. And I love that the colors of the two images were same. So these kind of felt like the two parts of the story, and she's the one that needs to get retired, right? And she's the one that is stepping forward into a whole new world of magic and enchantment. And I love her, but this is also me, right? But there's a sadness to this face that I don't want to be there anymore, and she gets to go take a break. And so we can talk about, there are parts of ourselves that need to be honored and celebrated, and then also retired. Like we get to just let them go. They're never not a part of us. They don't ever go away. This feels like this kind of, the turtle pulling its head back into the shell instead of fully embracing my artist self, my magic self, and stepping fully out into the future. So this is what we did all weekend long at the retreat. It was amazing. I'm still riding on such a high for that. I was sad to take Leslie to the airport yesterday morning. All right, I'm going to go ahead and just start getting this down and seeing where we're at and what edges. And I'm going to let things flow over the edges of the page because I can trim them up afterwards. I'm just using a glue stick because there's no paint coming into this process today. If I were adding paint over this, I would use matte medium instead of glue stick. But the other thing about this journal, so this is going to be my traveling intuitive journal for the summer, is that I need it to be portable. I need it to be quick. So I will look for magazines, free magazines along my journey, but also I will take a small envelope of images with me to play with, a pair of scissors, a glue stick, a pen for writing, and my deck of prompts, and I'm good to go. And I got to get all that put together by end of day Wednesday. We're leaving super early Thursday morning. We decided to drive to Eugene. We love a good road trip. Maybe another little butterfly here. So I pulled this image out this morning. I thought that this Venus flytrap was also such a fascinating image as my embrace my artist self. Like there's still some protection and some layers and not fully stepping out of that closet yet. So this Venus flytrap felt very interesting to me as well. Yes, love, love, love road trips. Do I use clear matte medium before painting? Yes, clear matte medium. Yes, not gesso, matte medium, right? Which is clear. And you can get it in gloss, right? You can get heavy. I love, my favorite is just the good old Liquitex matte medium, which is clear. And it is acrylic paint without any pigment in it, right? And so it's great for sealing images or layers of a piece in so that you can paint over the top of them. All right. I did that one. Here's the other thing I love about glue stick that you can't do as well with the matte medium because it's super sticky, is I want the edge of this to go underneath here. A lot of times if I'm creating a more complex image like this one and I want to remember where I laid things down the first time, I will take a picture. But I've also found that if I just start gluing things down, that whatever comes next tends to be exactly right and even better than the first time I put the images together. So this was sky, but now it's looking like water and like a lake. I don't know what it was about those little willow branches there that felt really good. Interesting. We went through so many glue sticks this weekend too. It was kind of hilarious. So I'm thinking again about my prompt with this place where I'm at. I can see, my images are buckling a little bit and I'm totally okay with that. Magazine images will often do that. When you're gluing them down, you can see kind of the wrinkles in there. I don't want to pause in my process and, fuss about that. And they don't bug me. If they bug you, you can work a little harder at getting those images using a credit card, pushing from the center. And a lot of times you can just push some of them, just work them with your finger. But magazine images these days tend to be the paper is very fine. So love the wrinkles, right? At 59, I learned to love my wrinkles. So I'm coming back to the sanctuary theme and looking at this and thinking about my prompt here. What does this sanctuary look and feel like? Well, it feels like an adventure. It feels like a journey through a variety of different landscapes. It feels a little bit like the different places that I've lived. It feels like, silly glue stick, look at that, came right out. Get back in there. It feels like a place I want to visit and linger. Adding in the butterflies makes it feel like there's place for things to emerge. I'm sensing what's missing in here is some kind of a bird flying. I've been really leaning into Jonathan Livingston Seagull energy. Later, I just reread that book. And I'm almost not wanting to trim these edges. It feels a little more like old mappy, right? And I'm okay with all these little fun bits and things hanging out. And it also, as I'm looking at it, it's not a smooth journey, right? It's not an ideal journey. There's no obvious path. But I can imagine each of these places as a sanctuary where she comes to visit, right? As a sanctuary where she comes to visit. Again, still feeling that sense that she's definitely this idea of a traveler. You did. Which dragon Kindle book? How did you know I needed a dragon book? Dragons came up this weekend as well. You can email the name of it to me or Instagram a screenshot of it to me. It's so funny. I was in my Audible this morning, and I think I saw some dragon books also. Okay, where am I going with this? What's missing? I'm almost wanting a tree on here to kind of pull the whole thing together. So since I pulled out that matte medium, again, I'm just trusting my intuition. Do you need to come say hello? All right, dude, you're back. Diego's come to say good morning. Oh, yes, I know. They're just happy to be back in the studio with me. They were locked out of the studio for the last week. All right, so I'm going to seal that surface so I have a surface that I can either paint or draw on. I'm kind of feeling like a hand-drawn tree over the top of this would be good. And I'm also feeling like this chicky poo is going to get glued in over here to remind me that this scholar, she's still part of me, but this isn't my primary focus. It's not the energy that I want to lead with in my daily life. I want to lead with the artist. I think I also love that she has a coffee cup. So, writing and deep reflection are still part of my journey also. They're never going to go away, but it's all shifting and changing, which is good. This is the perfect time for me to retire the scholar in me as I get ready to step into a summer writing workshop that I'm going to host. I need accountability for getting my book written, so I'm just going to create my own support group this summer and invite other people to come along and write with me. And I want to write from the place of the artist, not from the place of the scholar. I want it to be a book of magic and enchantment and a transformational journey, not an academic treatise, right? And so I need to be very mindful of that. And I think the turtle he's going to kind of travel in between the two. And I'm still leaving lots of space up here to do some journaling. But Mr. Turtle really wants to be part of this journey. I get to take my time. Okay, I'm going to let that get nice and dry, and I'm going to grab this piece of watercolor paper. We're going to see what kind of magic we can make with her for that final part of the story this morning. I loved this labyrinth. Oh, I just saw the group of women sitting in the labyrinth, but it felt important to have this labyrinth is part of the story. Like she's sort of stepping into something new here. It's a little tiny picture of looks like a picture of someone's altar, perhaps. Has a candle, and there's some beautiful flowers, and looks like either a Buddha or maybe a Kuan Yin statue. So definitely feeling some... Oh no, this is part of the other sanctuary. She wants to just travel alone. She doesn't want all of this other stuff with her. So maybe these all become part of the sanctuary. And Mr. Turtle over here is like, there's some kind of new journey that's emerging in this landscape down here. This is my reminder to slow down. And that little candle and that statue feel important. So Leslie and I had so many amazing magical things happen throughout the week that she was here for the retreat. And when I went to drive her to the airport yesterday, there was construction and the construction wasn't moving, and I was trying to get her to the little local airport where she was going to catch a bus to Denver. And so we ended up finding a crazy detour and following Google taking us on some very strange directions. But because we went on that detour, we came around a corner and a big bend in the road and just captured our breath in awe and wonder. We stumbled across, there's lots of little ponds and reservoirs and small lakes with houses around them, but we came across one that was covered in bright pink blooming water lilies, and it was just magical. And so of course we had to pull over and stop so Leslie could take some pictures. And then there was a goat, and the goat was very chatty and kept calling out to Leslie to get her attention. And I think about that on such a metaphor for life, right? To take those meandering paths, to take the not well traveled direction, even if it takes a few minutes longer, you never what you're going to know what you're going to see around the bend ahead. Okay, that's getting dry. All right, I'm trying to decide if she is going to have some of this with her. All right, when I get too many pieces of paper around, I get kind of overwhelmed. So notice in your space, oh, I forgot to put my house in my sanctuary. Notice if you find yourself feeling a little stuck or it starts to feel a little bit like chaos, then just give yourself permission to pause the process for a minute and do a little cleanup. Like, I love this moon in the tree. It feels like part of another story. But this house definitely feels like it's part of my journey, not the boat. I don't want to live on an island. But I do love this little house. This painting looks so much like Nova Scotia, where there are all these little tiny cottages on little tiny islands that are only accessible by boat in the summer. Yeah, so I knew this didn't feel complete, right? It felt like it needs that anchor in there. And look, there's my tree. I was saying, oh, it needs a tree. There's my tree. Perfect. We just keep layering it up and adding things until we get to that place where I look at it and I go, oh, this is sanctuary. I have my little statue here. I have my little labyrinth here. Okay, that feels much better. It's like something's missing, but I didn't know what, and I had it all along, which is usually the truth as well. Like, we're always seeking something outside of us, and that usually that something is within, not outside of us. So I'm just looking at these little bits of images and seeing, what do I want to keep? I'm still drawn. I think this Venus flytrap might get glued onto a page. Feels kind of important. And the fun thing about working in a contained journal like this one definitely felt like it was going on a page. So these are all little bits and pieces I can take with me. Oh, when that image flipped over, there was a different, brighter quilt on the other side. is that none of these collages need to be finished. And the fun part of a little book like this is that I can put a few images down on the page every single day and then add to it as I go, right? You know, it's like maybe I have part of the story, but not the whole story. And I could fill this entire book from one magazine. So often we think that we need to have so many different images, and too many images can actually create overwhelm and chaos and indecision. So when you're working with intuitive collage, practice what I call creative constraints, which is limits. Give yourself some limits. Start with 3 images or 5 images and work from there. Don't try to sit down and start a collage with a stack of magazines, because you'll get lost in the looking for images first of all. And so now I have this nice little stack, right? And I think tomorrow I'll demonstrate just starting to put some images on pages for, you know, that can be continued on the journey later. Okay, let's glue this guy down. Does this little moon? Maybe that little moon wants to be in there. But let the story find you, right? I think that was the magic of this weekend, that people really discovered. First of all, doing our healing work can be fun and creative and playful. It doesn't always have to be so hard. Now, saying that, there were still lots of tears and awareness and opening, but it all came gradually through the process. And what emerged surprised each and every one of us, right? We allowed the journey to unfold, just like you're seeing here. This journey has just unfolded on its own. I will not be taking any paints with me to Eugene. Of course, when I get to Andrea's studio, there will be all the things to play with. Wanted to bring that, something about that gray sky there wanted to come back, so we're just going to push that back a little bit. Oh, making a mess. Making a mess. The other nice thing about, you know, if you use matte medium over your images, when you have a little spill or mistake like that, you can just use a baby wipe and push it back to the image without damaging the image. So the baby wipe on an image by itself will pull the pigment off of the image. So now it's feeling like there's a little journey that's also happening over here, not loving this square edge, so something's gonna unfold over here. But this sanctuary is feeling really good, really happy, mostly complete. There's something about these hard edges that I'm wanting things to be soft and flowy and maybe not quite so hard. So maybe I can just sort of soften some of that up a little bit. Notice I'm just using my fingers because they're here. Yeah, those butterflies are, I know what it is, right? That's the butterflies are in the past. That was Galita. That was our last life, our last home. So they're part of that journey, but they're not today's journey. They're more of the scholar's journey, the business coach's journey, just a very different story than the story of my life that's being written today, which is allowing that artist to really fully bloom. And so much of that has to do with place and space. Certainly doing this YouTube show for the last, oh gosh, year and a half now, right? A lot has, I have made so much art and learned so much about my own process that has been healing and nourishing for me personally, even if no one else ever watched it, right? It's an important part of my journey. I'm wondering if this is maybe a little bit of this story over here, that kind of feminine moon energy. And it was so perfect that during our retreat, it was the new moon. A little more transition in the story here. Again, just softening up some of these edges feels important. And I like the symbol of the labyrinth, but I'm really not liking the blue over here. And so I may get a different color pen and go over that at some point. I had all those images picked and I thought, oh, I'm going to sit down and create something really fast and it's only going to be half an hour. And here I am 45 minutes later. And this is what happens when we're in our own studios, right? Is that we give ourselves a little bit of time and we sit down to the blank page and we start gluing things down and magic happens and time goes by and everything finds its place. Feeling like a little, I think that labyrinth maybe is just going to go. I need that transitional image here between these two pages. Yep. All right, no labyrinths today. So just trusting the process, right? Like there's no magic to this. There's no science to this. Well, I should take that back. There's a lot of magic in this that happens on the other end, but in the process, it's just rip stuff up, glue it down, let stuff go. There's something here about, I don't use a lot of words in my collage. We'll see as I go on a journey. Maybe this is something like the scholar stretches her wings. I need to find the word her somewhere in a magazine, but maybe some of these words are going to end up in here. And how perfect is it? Like haven is another word for sanctuary. I'm just trimming the little sort of messy edges off. Yeah, something there. That one's not quite ready to get glued down, but there's something gonna happen. Oh, I think maybe she needs a little bit of butterfly magic over here. And I'm looking at this visually, like through an artist eye, and we have a lot of these beautiful oranges here and a little spot here. I'm almost wanting just a little bit of that orange to kind of come in here, just maybe flow on the page a little better. It's a lot of that fire energy at the top, and maybe that's okay. Well, and it's over here as well with her gorgeous red hair. Okay, I'm just going to stick that down, Minette. Stop overthinking it. And I want to still leave this blank for doing some journaling after the fact. All right, where'd my traveler go? Yeah, so she's just on that path of self-discovery, beginning over here, traveling into this sanctuary, and this is who she becomes, right? That feels really good. Like there's a whole story happening here that's about making peace with that inner scholar and allowing the artist to emerge that feels very clear in this journey. And this whole journey was inspired, one, by this image, but two, by this prompt of sanctuary, right? What does sanctuary look like, feel like? Well, apparently it looks and feels like this. But books for me are also sanctuary. They're also part of the journey. My own books, other books. Nope, she's going to fly solo. All right, so she's going to get glued down on this little piece of cardstock, or this is some watercolor paper laying around so that she is stable and can travel with me this summer on my journey, very much like a paper doll, which is so fun. It's what we do in the secret garden, is to create a variety of paper dolls. And my curiosity is, does she want to get cut out? She almost feels like she needs that little bit of foundation here. Or maybe something else is going to grow up and around her. I'm not sure, but I'm going to glue her down for now. And also left from this weekend, I have this piece of sari ribbon with this gorgeous key. Oh, interesting. And a clock. We had scrolls of a beautiful poem for everybody wrapped with ribbon. And so I'm thinking this is going to get attached here. Of course, my hole punch is somewhere else. So this is almost going to become maybe like a bookmark, but somehow she's the key to everything. So this key feels like an important part of the journey that's going to hang here. I might actually get a smaller key on there. Hi, Georgia. Your turn to come say good morning. But I think I am complete for now. Something like definitely this beautiful orange ribbon needs to go. I think maybe this clock needs to go. This clock almost feels like part of this journey, remembering to slow down, to take my time, to visit sanctuary. I don't know if the glue stick is strong enough to stick that. I might have to get a little spot of hot glue or stronger glue. Yeah, there's that clock, that little bit of texture on there. Feels good. And she's the traveler, right? This is where we start on the journey. And this is the magic that's unfolding as I move into this new sanctuary and this new landscape of the artist imagination. So much came from just this one little hour of play, so much healing and understanding of where I've been and what I'm moving towards. So I want to encourage you to grab a magazine. If you don't have any at home, next time you're at the grocery store, look for one of those free edible magazines, or go to your library and ask if they have any free magazines. And what does sanctuary look and feel like, is the question, the prompt that I'm working with. And now I will be able to take some time and do some journaling in this open space here. But I love what was created, and this reminder that, she's not getting glued down. She's got to travel with me through the rest of the journey. So I will be back tomorrow live. that'll be the last time for a little while, as I'm going to be on the road again for a week. And tomorrow I want to show how I might just glue some images down on the road as beginning parts of the story, and what I'm going to take with me in my little summer intuitive collage travel kit along with this book. So as always, thank you so much for joining me live. Thanks for catching the replay. I appreciate each and every one of you. And my invitation for you today is to think about what aspect of yourself needs healing right now and create a sanctuary specifically to nurture that specific aspect of you. Enjoy, my creative friends. Thanks for coming along for a little magic and enchantment today. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, everybody.